The alien girl stood at the edge of the forest clearing, her iridescent skin shimmering under the twin moons of her homeworld. Her 4 delicate hands clutched the fabric of her flowing robe, and her large, almond-shaped eyes darted nervously between the human and the massive creature standing beside him. The creature was unlike anything she had ever seen. It was a hulking beast, covered in thick, shaggy fur, with a broad, flat face and eyes that glowed faintly in the dim light. Its paws were the size of her head, and its teeth, when it yawned, looked like they could crush boulders. It sat on its haunches, panting softly, its tongue lolling out of its mouth as it stared at her with what she could only interpret as predatory interest. Is it going to eat me?" she asked, her voice trembling. She took a cautious step back, her long, slender legs brushing against the undergrowth. The human, a tall man with scruffy brown hair and a friendly smile, chuckled and shook his head. "Nah, don't worry. He's a big soft boy. Aren't you, Bruno?" The creature, Bruno, let out a low, rumbling sound that might have been a bark or a growl. The alien girl wasn't sure. She flinched, her antennae twitching nervously. "See? He likes you," the human said, reaching out to scratch the beast behind its ears. Bruno leaned into the touch, his tail thumping against the ground. The alien girl frowned. "But he's so big and scary." The human shrugged. "Yeah, he looks intimidating, but he's just a big old teddy bear. Here, watch this." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, brightly colored ball. Bruno's ears perked up, and his glowing eyes locked onto the object. The human tossed the ball into the air, and Bruno leapt after it, his massive body moving with surprising grace. He caught the ball mid-air and landed with a soft thud, then trotted back to the human, dropping the ball at his feet. "See? He's just a big goofball," the human said, picking up the ball and tossing it again. The alien girl watched as Bruno bounded after the ball, his tail wagging furiously. She couldn't help but smile a little. There was something endearing about the way the creature played, his sheer size and power contrasted by his playful demeanor. "Okay," she said slowly, taking a tentative step forward. "But what if he gets too excited? What if he accidentally hurts me?" The human shook his head. "Nah, Bruno's gentle. He knows how to be careful. Here, come closer. I'll show you." The alien girl hesitated for a moment, then took a deep breath and stepped forward. Bruno had returned with the ball and was sitting patiently, waiting for the human to throw it again. As she approached, the creature turned its head to look at her, its glowing eyes meeting hers. She froze, her heart pounding in her chest. But Bruno didn't move. He just sat there, panting softly, his tail wagging slowly. "Go on," the human encouraged. "Give him a pat. He loves attention." The alien girl reached out with one of her hands, her fingers trembling slightly. She hesitated for a moment, then gently placed her hand on Bruno's head. His fur was soft and warm, and she could feel the steady rise and fall of his breathing beneath her touch. Bruno let out a low, contented rumble and leaned into her hand, his tail wagging faster. The alien girl let out a small laugh, her fear melting away. He's not so scary after all," she said, a smile spreading across her face. "Told you," the human said with a grin. "He's a big soft boy." As the days passed, the alien girl found herself spending more and more time with Bruno and the human. She learned that the human's name was Jack, and that he was an explorer who had come to her world to study its unique ecosystems. Bruno, she discovered, was his loyal companion, a genetically enhanced space bear, bred for strength, intelligence, and loyalty. Despite his fearsome appearance, Bruno was indeed a gentle giant. He loved to play, to cuddle, and to explore the forest with Jack and the alien girl. She quickly grew fond of him, and he seemed to adore her in return. One day, as they were hiking through the forest, the alien girl turned to Jack and asked, "Why did you bring Bruno with you? He's so big and, well, scary looking. Wouldn't it have been easier to travel alone?" Jack smiled and shrugged. "Maybe. But Bruno's more than just a companion. He's family. And out here, in the unknown, it's good to have someone you can trust watching your back." The alien girl nodded, understanding. She had never had a companion like Bruno before, but she could see how much he meant to Jack. But their peaceful exploration was soon interrupted. One evening, as they were setting up camp, the alien girl heard a strange noise coming from the trees. She turned to look, her antennae twitching nervously. "Jack," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Do you hear that?" Jack frowned and stood up, his hand instinctively reaching for the weapon at his side. Bruno, who had been lying by the fire, also stood up, his ears perked and his glowing eyes fixed on the darkness beyond the trees. The noise grew louder, a low, guttural growl that sent shivers down the alien girl's spine. She took a step closer to Jack, her heart pounding. "Stay behind me," Jack said, his voice calm but firm. Out of the shadows emerged a creature unlike anything the alien girl had ever seen. It was massive, with sleek, black scales and glowing red eyes. Its mouth was filled with razor-sharp teeth, and its claws looked like they could tear through metal. The alien girl gasped, her hands flying to her mouth. "What is that?" "A predator," Jack said, his grip tightening on his weapon. "And it's not friendly." The creature let out a deafening roar and charged at them. Jack raised his weapon and fired, but the creature was fast, dodging the blast with ease. It lunged at Jack, its claws slashing through the air. But before it could reach him, Bruno leapt into action. With a roar of his own, the space bear charged at the creature, his massive body colliding with it in mid-air. The two beasts tumbled to the ground, locked in a fierce struggle. The alien girl watched in horror as Bruno and the creature fought, their roars echoing through the forest. She wanted to help, but she didn't know what to do. "Bruno!" Jack shouted, his voice filled with worry. The space bear was strong, but the creature was fast and vicious. It managed to get the upper hand, pinning Bruno to the ground and sinking its teeth into his shoulder. Bruno let out a pained roar, but he didn't give up. With a surge of strength, he managed to throw the creature off and get back on his feet. The alien girl's heart ached as she watched Bruno fight. She had never seen him like this before, fierce, determined, and willing to risk his life to protect them. Finally, with one last, powerful swipe of his massive paw, Bruno managed to knock the creature to the ground. It let out a final, gurgling roar before going still. Bruno stood over the creature, panting heavily, his fur matted with blood. He turned to look at Jack and the alien girl, his glowing eyes filled with concern. "Bruno!" Jack ran to his companion, dropping to his knees beside him. The alien girl followed, her hands trembling as she reached out to touch Bruno's fur. "He's hurt," she said, her voice breaking. Jack nodded, his face grim. "We need to get him back to the ship. Now."